Hey everybody, welcome to Example of Play, the home for strategy, tactics, and more. If you haven't subscribed already, now's your chance. It is January 11th, 2025, and it's time for another strategy gaming news roundup. Got a few items on the agenda today, spanning several genres and settings, so let's check it out. Alright, so first off, we have an update for Task Force Admiral Volume 1 American Carrier Battles. This is an upcoming strategy game that lets you be an admiral in the Pacific Theater of War in World War II, where you're commanding ships and aircraft in these large-scale battles. You can play it as a kind of normal strategy game. You can also play sort of directly from the point of view of the admiral, where you're looking at a map and you're limited in what you can see. It's very flexible, kind of lets you play the game either as a simulation or as just a game, and every kind of in between as well. They are going to have a Kickstarter for it soon, even though they've said they don't need the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is just for some bonus things, so we'll look at that. But they put out kind of what their stretch goals are going to be for this. And also, if you didn't know, they're going to have a demo for it soon. So be sure to be on the lookout for that, because this looks like a really fun game. But looking over kind of what they're going to do for the Kickstarter, they've made it clear this is about offering a physical version of the game. So it's, yeah, pretty nostalgic here. Yes, kids, back in the day, PC games came in boxes. You could walk into your local Walmart or anywhere else and find an entire wall of PC games that came in little boxes like this and were full of physical goodies. So kind of the goal of this Kickstarter is to tap into that nostalgia for those days and give you a chance to get something like that, where you can order it, you'll get the physical box, it'll have like a manual, a map, all kinds of goodies inside it there. But also they're offering some stretch goals that look pretty exciting to go along with it. I lost it. Where was it? So some of the stretch goals are offering little crewmen to go on the ship to add a little flavor to it. This is goal 1. They're not too exciting. I mean, nice little detail, but they're not animated or anything. But hold on. Adding an orchestral soundtrack. Now extending the game into 1943 from just 1942, so that's exciting. That would actually increase the scope of the game a bit. And then adding some new gameplay stuff, letting you fly the fighters yourself, so you can jump in and take control of one of your fighters. So turn it from just a strategy game into a little bit more of a simulation. And they said in the upcoming demo that I don't have a date on yet, but sometime soon, you'll be able to play kind of a first iteration of this fighter thing. Then another goal would be letting you control the anti-aircraft guns, so that could be fun. And then animating the crewmen, so making those a little bit more fully fleshed out. And then controlling the ships. So, if it got all these stretch goals, this game would go from being just a strictly strategy game that you can play at different views and different levels of immersion, to letting you take control of pretty much everything going on in the battle hands-on if you want to, with the gorgeous graphics of the game. That could be very fun. So I'll post a link down in the description. But yeah, check out Task Force Admiral in general, but also the Kickstarter. That should be soon, next few weeks is what they're saying, so watch for that. All right, so next up, we'll continue with the theme of carriers and fighters and bombers, but instead of naval action in the Pacific of World War II, we are now in space in the far future. So Nebulous Fleet Command, which is a space naval action simulator, basically. They put out a big update that's been long looked forward to, that adds carriers to the game. So where before you had different types of frigates and battleships and things duking it out, you've now added carriers to the mix with fighters and bombers and scouts, little bitty craft that can go out in between the big ones, which will totally mix up the strategy of the game. This is already a game that's really got in-depth tactical possibilities, because it's everything you know about modern naval combat, with like reconnaissance, sending guided missiles on preset courses and intercepting targets before they even know that you're there, that kind of thing. This game has all of that, but in the 3 dimensions of space. And bringing in the carriers is going to make that even more complicated, because you've got these little bitty ships flying around in between, not just the big ones duking it out. If you've never played this game, definitely take a look at it, because it really scratches that itch for, like, if you've played or if you watched The Expanse and like the space combat in that, where it had realistic physics and you've got long range missiles being a huge threat, but then also close in defenses and hurling slugs at each other through space. This game has all of that and more. So be sure to take a look at it. They added some new tutorial missions to explain all this stuff. They've also overhauled the AI. They added some new bombs and missiles and things because the game didn't have enough different types of missiles and stuff already. So I'm probably going to do a video on this, go in and try out these carriers pretty soon because I'm excited about this one. I played it a decent amount last year. Wasn't very great at it, but had a good time trying to figure out how to use my spaceships to good effect. So a ton of small updates as well in this. So if you've played this game before, check it out. If you haven't, take a look at it because for space combat like this, it's probably the best out there right now. All right, now a little something for my hardcore war gamers out there. War Game Design Studio posted a big kind of look at 2024 and look forward to 25 that I thought was interesting. I'll post a link to it. They post about like kind of what their most popular series and settings are, which I thought was interesting. Nice to see a company kind of showing what's going on behind the scenes, how they're doing and what people like, because they make a ton of different games covering all sorts of different historical settings and conflicts. But then they also posted some of their games that are upcoming this year. And the first one is War of Austrian Succession. This is a war I know nothing about, but if you wanted to learn about this war, they got you covered because each of their games is usually on one specific topic, one part of World War II or one historical war that's lesser well known. This one's no different. It's got 80 scenarios about it. I know nothing about the War of Austrian Succession, but if you got this and played through half these scenarios, you'd probably know a lot more than anybody else. Of course, these games have simpler graphics, but they're, we'll say functional over detailed, but they look nice. And nowhere else are you going to get something that lets you play out some of these historical battles and kind of dive into the history of what it looked like in these times and places and how these battles unfolded and kind of step in the shoes of one of those generals back in that day. One of the other ones, the Crusades, I mentioned this one in a previous video. This one's interesting to me because it's their first going back even further in history, so pre-gunpowder. And this, of course, is focused on the Crusades. It has quite a few scenarios covering those conflicts. And so you got knights and, swords and shields and stuff instead of World War II or modern equipment or anything like that. So very ambitious of the studio, kind of covering all these different historical periods in such detail, just from the sheer number of scenarios and things you can play out, all these dates and places that, you'd only normally see like in a history book. And then this one kind of blew my mind. Another one that they have coming out soon is going to be Panzer Campaigns Poland 39. So they have a lot of these Panzer campaigns for World War II that cover specific years and theaters, giving you a really in-depth look at that time and place. And this one's no different. It's for Poland 39. So normally the invasion of Poland in a lot of history games, or a lot of big grand strategy games, it's something that's it's inevitable. Germany's going to win. It might just take them a few turns. It's kind of foregone conclusion. But the real conflict, it went on a while. The German army didn't just roll through because Poland did fight back pretty hard. And the German army learned a lot during this conflict that they applied later. So actually seeing it in such detail is interesting because it wasn't the footnote that it sometimes turns into when you're looking at the big broad picture of World War II. And this game's going to have 40 scenarios, a big 158 turn campaign. I don't know if I'll ever play that full campaign because check this out. The map, the master map that it's kind of the smaller maps are cut from is nearly 1 million hexes, which just blows my mind. So if you're playing the grand campaign and you're looking at this whole picture and those are all different units along the line spread across this map that has 1 million hexes on it, I don't know if I would even attempt such a thing to play through it, but definitely something to look at when it comes out. And there are demos of this series, so you can try it out. But I just thought that kind of blew my mind. The level of detail going into this, the order of battle has nearly 12,000 units on it. So yeah, these games don't have the crazy graphics of some modern games, but you're going to be unmatched in terms of detail and historical accuracy and kind of the granularity of what did a campaign like this really look like at this scale. How many units are actually spread along this front versus like Hearts of Iron 4 or something where, okay, I've got the big German army, I point the arrow at Warsaw and away they go. Maybe I tweak it a little along the way, but it's kind of a foregone conclusion, where here you're seeing the detail of every little thing that happened along the way, and how the geography mattered and how the forces ran into each other. And so it was an interesting conflict. So I don't know, I thought that was really cool that someone's doing such a big in-depth dive on this conflict. So something just to look at. It's definitely not for everyone, of course, but for my hardcore war gamers out there, this one looks pretty cool. All right, now finally, this one's only tangential to strategy, but I would consider Dwarf Fortress a strategy game for sure. And if you've never played it, it's a kind of legendary game, a product of passion from its creator that's just nuts, where yeah, you have dwarves, they build a fortress. I won't go too far into it, but they had an exciting announcement that the Steam version, which if you didn't know, Dwarf Fortress does have a Steam version now. It's gone from its first iteration, which looked like this, to now having a full Steam version that looks much nicer, and you can actually use the mouse and the controls are way better. So yeah, if you didn't know that, please go check out Dwarf Fortress on Steam because it's awesome. But within this already overly ambitious game that's just insane, it has adventure mode, which is like a roguelike RPG within Dwarf Fortress, the strategy game, the colony building game, where you can take control of a little individual character and wander around this ginormous world that you've generated, and you can even explore your own fortresses you've built. I haven't played it a lot over time because it's kind of fun, but it's also one of those things that it's its own little world, figuring out how it works and everything. But it's been in beta for the Steam version of it for a while, and then January 23rd they're going to launch it out of beta, so it's a more updated version, and they're going to switch back to focusing on the fortress mode, which they've been working on some, but yeah, back to full focus on fortress mode. So both of those things are exciting because yeah, Dwarf Fortress is one of those games that, again, not for everybody, but if you've played it, it does stuff that no other game does. Just the level of detail and how many systems there are coming together and everything. So check it out. Adventure mode being updated, where it's like an RPG within your already crazy strategy game. So that will do it for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and subscribe to get more strategy gaming news every week between the other videos and tutorials and things. And thank you for watching. Have a great day.